Good morning, Facebook. This is Jim Blythe, Veterans Impact Show. I've got a very, very special guest with me today, Michael Crouse, the Executive Director for Benefits from out of Waco, Texas. Let me tell you, it's going to be great. We're going to be going on the air and in the recording in just about now. So stand by and stay with us. Veterans Impact is for you. Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where we continue the mission of highlighting veterans and service organizations who continue to serve our community and our nation. We're brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Don't worry, retire happy. Welcome aboard. Hey, what a great day we've got, and we're here to talk to you, veterans and civilians, about some of the most important things about being a veteran, veterans benefits. So I'm Jim Blight. I want to tell you thank you to Nathaniel Smith and thank you to my wife for all they do to produce this. Thank you to DBTV Network that puts us on Amazon Fire and on Roku and the AUN Network out in California. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, the Veterans Impact Show, and follow us, be friends with us on Facebook. If you have a question, ask Diane. She's taken the information. If you want to get in touch with us, she'll put my email address up there and we'll be ready for you. We'll help you because Veterans Impact is all about continuing the mission and bringing us together and providing great information. So today I've got a new friend, a guy that I met day before yesterday, Michael Crouse, the Executive Director of the Veterans Benefits out of Waco, Texas. Thank you and welcome aboard, sir.
Well, good morning, Jim, and thank you for everybody who's on attendance today. And I'm looking forward to discussing some veterans benefits today.
I want to start off because we are a veterans program. You are U.S. Army. You were career and you were a paratrooper. You were one of those brilliant guys who jumped out of perfectly good airplanes. Are you nuts?
No, actually, I used to be about 6 feet. I think I'm about 5'8" now. It's a thrill, definitely a thrill. And there's a lot of men and women out there that continue to do that today. So I really service.
I got, because it is so important, but the training you went through to be a paratrooper, the training you went through in the military, that probably did a whole lot to prepare you for what you're doing today, because you have a huge responsibility as the executive director. Just for a second, tell us a little bit about what you did in the Army and where you were, please.
Well, most of my career was spent on in a little place called Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I spent about 15 to I think up to almost 17 years at Fort Bragg. I was a paratrooper. I started out as a light fighter. Worked what we call the LPCs, the leather personnel carriers, or feet. So I was an infantry soldier for many, many years. And while I was in there, I moved up through leadership ranks and ended up working at the 18th Airborne or 82nd Airborne Division G3. Working on World War plans and World War deployment operations. I was in charge of what they call the Division Tactical Operations Center, where we deployed with the leading edge of the combat units going out. I did not get the chance to serve, even though I look like I'm in my 30s. I didn't get a chance to serve in the Gulf War because I retired before that. What is significant, though, about this, I got to say, my wife is also a retired service member.
Wow.
She come in, and it should show you date-wise, but she come in right to the last group of waves coming in, and when they went away with that program in 1978. So she come in 1978, right at the back end of the wave program. We have two sons that are also veterans. Both of them served multiple tours overseas in the Gulf, and doing extremely well today. And I'll tell you honestly, if it wasn't for the VA, not only just my sons, but I've seen a lot of these men and women out there right now, if it wasn't for the VA, I don't know where they'd be at today. So we're going to talk about some of that today and how I can encourage folks to get involved.
Absolutely, because I see it all the time as a certified advisor to seniors. And it is important, because how many times have you heard, or I've heard, oh, I don't want to go to the VA, they're going to hurt me, or I don't want to go to the VA, the paperwork's too much, or oh, I don't qualify, I didn't do anything. That's not true. Would you tell us a story about when I met you on Thursday? You were talking about that, and I think that'd be great to tell people.
Yeah, Jim, and I hear this all the time, by the way, and I really mean what I'm getting ready to say here. I want people to come out and explore their benefits, find out what's going on. But You know, we were at Vet Fest, which I'm holding a Vet Fest here today in El Paso, Texas, but we were in Garland, Texas. And there was a gentleman sitting in a room. We were doing a presentation, and I was speaking to a bunch of folks there trying to, you know, figure out what they were there for. And we moved them out of the appointment areas to do their appointments. And there was this one gentleman who was sitting back in the back of the room. He didn't move and he didn't go anywhere. And he asked me a question. He said, would I be entitled to benefits? And I said, well, you know, it all depends. Where do you serve? And he was an F4 pilot.
Oh, wow. Phantom jockey.
Well, here's the deal. This PACT Act benefits, which we're going to talk about, just ran right down his alley. He never applied for any benefits. Didn't know if he was entitled to benefits. He had a particular disability as associated with his service, but he was not aware of that. And so we talked about his service, and he served in Thailand and in Guam during the same time period that the PACT Act now anticipates or actually opens up for those type of benefits. And he had the presumptive disabilities associated with those services. So we talked for a minute. Also, being around, you know, the runways and that, he had some hearing loss going on. And I'm like, you never filed for benefits? No. And I mean, Jim, he was in the military. I believe he said he went in the military in 1969 or 1970. And this is the first time he's ever heard about benefits. So we were able to get him back there and get him with one of our advisors, get the intent to file, and we're now serving him. But he was clueless.
I got to tell you, that is huge. And I hear stories like that all the time. And one of the big things that, like a phantom jockey would have had, a hearing loss. That's a big thing. I'm going to get tested for that. Although I've passed every flight physical for my private pilot's license, I know I have some tinnitus, but I've also had early stages of prostate cancer, and I'm getting that taken care of, which is fabulous. I got a great doctor. I've also had some reduced kidney function. I've also had a minor heart attack with no damage. Wait a minute. All three of those are presumptive conditions that may indicate that I was exposed to something, and I would be foolish not to get tested.
No, you're absolutely correct. And like I say, don't try to second guess your disabilities. Come to us. Please come to us. You know, I think I made mention to you about this other day, Jim. Our health care in VA is phenomenal. I'm a proponent of it. I use VA health care. Although I have private health care, my wife actually is a big charge of VA health care. And we actually use VA health care. And it's important you do that because, again, when we start talking about PACT Act, we need to know what those disabilities are for the veterans out there, because constant research is going on in terms of disabilities that veterans are coming with. And the PACT Act in of itself allows us to do additional research, and potentially some of these disabilities that we do not see under the PACT Act right now could be presumptive future state out there. So I highly encourage people out there, don't second guess your disabilities. Don't say I didn't serve in these areas where these disabilities are now occurring, or we call them presumptive disabilities. Come see your doctor, get it documented in your medical records. Come talk to a benefits counselor. Let them take you through the process. Let us make a decision, or tell you where you need to go to actually get additional facts for your case. We want to make sure that every veteran out there is receiving entitlements to the service that they perform in this great nation. So I implore you all to come into the office.
Michael, one of the things that I confirmed with you was a lot of times veterans, and I've known a lot of veterans that were exposed to a lot of things, but it wasn't put in their medical records or in their service jacket. And they didn't get any benefits as a result of some of the things they did or places they were. Part of what you're doing now is actually testing for those potential problems. So even if you didn't get the information, and here's my friend in Jacksonville, Joe, who didn't get some things in his service record, now he can get tested, and those things are going to show up, correct?
Correct. But you just made a key statement there. They have to get tested. You know, we need to get the testing done.
Okay, let's back up. Let's talk a little bit about the PACT Act, because for our civilian community, our families, they're not familiar. This is an act that was passed in 2022, I believe. And as a result, it is the biggest, widest expansion of VA benefits probably since this program got started, correct?
Yeah, it's one of the most comprehensive bills that I've seen since I've been with the VA that I can remember, and it really opens up a lot of different avenues for veterans out there. And let me just cover quickly a little bit about the PACT Act. And you're absolutely correct. The president signed into law on August 10th, 2022, the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson, honoring our promise to address comprehensive toxics, which is promising to address comprehensive toxics is the word PACT. But what it did, it expanded and extends veterans' eligibility for VA health care. Primarily with those individuals, we want to see them come in and get toxic exposure screenings. But it covers veterans from the Vietnam era, the Gulf War era, and post 9/11. That's a lot of aperture that we have opened up now to allow veterans from those areas to come into the VA. And again, what is significant here is the Vietnam era. Veterans can come in, and Jim, we talked about this up there, and I've talked to a lot of veterans about that. They just didn't realize that they're entitled to benefits. We want to see them come in. Also, what this bill allows us to do is add 20 plus more presumptive disabilities or conditions for burn pits, Agent Orange or herbicide, and other toxic exposures. Primarily, like I say, they talk about burn pits, but we're looking at all toxic exposures. It adds more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation. I mentioned a few of them. Guam and Thailand, to name a few, but there's more out there. It helps us improve our research, and this is where these toxic exposure screenings are very, very critical for VA. It helps us improve our research, staff our education, and treatment related to toxic exposures. If you're a veteran or you're a survivor, and notice I'm making a key word here, you're a survivor, you can file a claim to apply for PACT Act benefits. But let me just back up real quick, Jim, because I want to make sure we clarify this. You made mention of a veteran has a disability and may not be in their records. Okay, we want to see them. This is where the key word presumptive comes from. Presumptive is a disability under the law that we would assume is associated to your service in the military. For example, you mentioned prostate and diabetes. Diabetes is a presumptive disability. It doesn't mean you necessarily had to have it in the military, but if you served in these locations, you're now diagnosed with the disability, such as diabetes and prostate cancer. We assume, based on your current disability picture and your service your service in the military, that condition is related to your service. It doesn't have to be in your service treatment records. So presumptive disability is that we assumed and we take responsibility to go ahead and take that claim. And once we had the medical evidence, we can service connect that disability.
Michael, that's a huge thing. That was a huge stumbling block for a lot of people. And I think that is tremendously important. And so what I want to say to my veterans, my civilians, my families, take this program and share it, because what Michael just said, the presumptive nature of these things, they're going to test, they're going to find out, and they're going to help you get the right medical care. I'm going to say something, Michael, you may disagree with me. I don't know if the financial benefits to me are nearly as important as finding out the medical that would save my life or prolong my life or make the quality of my life better.
Let me say this, and you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with you, Jim, but I got to say this for veterans. And something that I do a lot of talking about, but remember, we all have loved ones out there. This benefit in of itself under the PACT Act, it opens up a lot of apertures for the family members as well. And when I said survivors can apply, if we lose a veteran or a loved one due to one of these presumptive disabilities, and if actually are service connected for it, the loved one, the survivor, in some situations, the children of the veteran can come in and file for benefits on their own due to that veteran's disability. So this is what I'm saying. We may not think about it now, Jim. This is why we want veterans to come through the door and at least get us, a chance to talk to you about your benefits, get you service connected. If your eligibility is such to get you into the door, let's get you in the door. And let me just make one more, because I heard this a lot from some of the PACT Act events. Veterans come out and they say, well, I was 0%. I'm not service connected. 0% is service connection.
Yeah.
Folks, listen to me on this podcast today. 0% will get you health care, okay, for that disability. So, please apply, get it in here. Let us take a look at it. And then we can work with you. And for that matter, your loved ones, if they come in the door, and if it's a survivor of one of our veterans out there, we want to work with them as well.
Let me make a point from what I do in working with seniors. I'm going to kind of give you a little background. The vast majority of seniors that are in retirement basically only have Social Security, and the national average on Social Security is $1,400 a month. What would this do to you? Number one, if you did have a disability and if you did get a pension, A, it would be some cash. B, your disability in the state of Texas, as well as some other states, will reduce your ad valorem real estate taxes by the percentage of the disability. If you're 100% disabled, you would have that. So all of a sudden, these things can make a huge change in people in their retirement who are me, the veterans in the Vietnam era. Now, I'm not retired, don't plan to, but it could make a huge difference for you. And that's why we want you to go. We want you to find out. These vet fests are going on all over the nation, Michael. You're in El Paso. I met you in Dallas, basically in Garland 2 days ago. And let me tell you, the guys were lined up out the door to get checked. And I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was great. Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, Jim, thank you. And we're seeing more of that going on this morning. We're going to start here very, very shortly, but we're seeing more of that happening here in El Paso, Texas. But, you know, I got to make a shameless request here.
Okay.
I need more veterans to come out. I really do. You know, here in the state of Texas, and we talk about this, but here in the state of Texas, just for PACT Act alone, and I can, you know, look nationally, but we have over 1.6 million veterans, approximately 1.6 million veterans. Of those, about 84,000 veterans have applied for PACT Act benefits. Now, you can do the math. That's a very, very small percentage of veterans out there. And I understand everybody has, you know, jobs and things like that, but we want to see more. We want to do more. And
it's important, Michael. Texas is now the #1 state in the nation for veterans in population. We just surpassed California. I don't know, for instance, in El Paso, what you got in a veterans population is probably what, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000?
in El Paso County, it's approximately 40,000 folks. But, you know,
Okay.
when we look at El Paso County, we're looking at only 54 to 5,500 of those veterans have actually applied for PACT Act benefits.
Oh man, that's a very small percentage. Well, I have heard, and I don't know, that Dallas-Fort Worth, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of between 450 and 500,000 in our 40 county area that's covered under the North Texas. And I think there are only about 130,000 signed up under the VA in this area. So
Yeah, correct, Jim. You are correct. And about 50 to 60% of the veterans in that number you talked about are actually drawing any type of benefit for VA.
All right, tell you what, let's do. Mike, we're going to come back with Michael Crouse, the executive director of the VA benefits in Waco, Texas, Central Texas. You're all over the state of Texas. I'm going to talk about how big your job is because it's special. Everybody thinks of healthcare with VA. I got to tell you, I've got one of the top guys in the United States on the benefits side. That's an important thing for you to know. It could change your life. But also what Michael and I are making a point of, get the right medical care. Get in, get tested, get screening, get into the system. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the other benefits and we're going to talk about research. This is Jim Blight, Veterans Impact Show. And thank you, Michael Crouse. Let's continue this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. What a great day. And I'm talking about things that affect every veteran in the United States, as well as active duty. And on top of that, I would like families to know, here are some of the tremendous benefits available to veterans when your young son and daughter is thinking about, well, what are you going to do with your life? I don't know what to do. I don't want to go to college. I don't know this. I don't know that. Hey, take a look at the military. You got two people who are military. Both of us will tell you that the military made a huge, huge improvement in our lives. Boot camp was the best thing that ever happened to me. Michael, you are the executive director for benefits. We've been talking about the PACT Act. And let's talk about that deadline again real quick, because people need to understand there is a deadline for retroactive back to when the act was signed in August of 22. That's a year. So if they get signed up, You don't actually have to do the whole thing. You have to file before August the 9th. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, Jim, you're absolutely correct. And if I can say this while we're on here, August 9th of 2023, which is coming up, is fast approaching, is the deadline to receive entitlement if you're eligible to any type of retroactive benefits, which means if we find evidence early enough, we can take you back to the date the law was signed, was August 10th of 2022. Now, I just want to caution you all, though, if you can't get out and file a claim, I need to get an intent to file. It's a form that the VA has. You can actually go online at va.gov and do it online. But what that does, that perfects your data claim up to 1 year from the time you file that intent to file. If you're still trying to gather evidence, you're still unsure of how to actually talk to one of our benefits advisors out there or counselors, at least perfect your data claim with the intent to file.
Michael, we've got it. Nathaniel has put this up on the screen. So we've got that page out of va.gov. So you want to go to va.gov, take a look. There's 2 links, the file a disability claim, and then also learn how to submit your intent to file. That's important. That's what Michael was just talking about. We're showing it to you right now. Go to va.gov and you're going to find that link. It's easy. And if you're really having trouble, let me tell you something. We got VA accredited reps in the state of Texas with our Texas Veterans Commission in every county. There are VA accredited reps with DAV, BFW, American Legion. There are attorneys that can show you how to do things as well and maybe include that in an overall estate planning. But I got to tell you, you can get the help. It's not rocket science. You can get the help, correct, Michael?
You can get the help, and Jim, I just want to throw this out there. They can get the help for free. You know, you just mentioned our great partners in the state of Texas, to include our national veteran service organizations as well. They're there to serve you. The customer service is just above and beyond, and it's all free. You know, or if you're not like, and I'm not, guys, I'm not as tech savvy as I like to be, but if you're tech savvy, you can go on va.gov. Sign in, create an account, and you do this all online.
And I went to the Vet Fest here in Garland on Thursday. That's where I met Michael. Matter of fact, I was talking to his PAO. We had already set this up. And then I walked up and I said, hey, I understand Michael Crouse is here. And we met. We did a promo for this, which really, really was, I think, enjoyable doing and getting to know you. And you helped me to get signed up. So I want to say thank you. Go to the Vet Fest. Around the nation, are there ways to find out about where these vet fests are being done, Michael? Or do you know? How can we get that word out?
Well, Nathaniel just put that screen up there at va.gov, but you can actually, there's a dashboard. We have a dashboard that's open to the public on that page that Nathan was just showing. If you go to the bottom of that page, you'll see a link that says VA PACT Act Performance Dashboard website. You click on it.
Got it. There it is right there.
Yep. If you go to the bottom and click on that left-hand little icon, there's that left-hand icon, click on that. It'll give you the dashboard, but it'll all show you, as you scroll down, it'll show you the events taking place. There you go. It'll show you the events taking place. Now, this is not all encompassing every event we're doing. We're doing a last-minute push for to make sure we get folks to apply, but you can also contact your local VA regional office. Your veteran service organizations also have access to this, or you can go into your specific area. For example, for me, if you search Waco VA regional office, you'll get into our regional office links, and you can do this for any regional office. And we have our events listed on that page as far as what's taking place. And if you're not getting that, we're getting it on our local media. Listen to your favorite radio show. We're trying to hit all media markets right now, but these are some of the areas you can find out about the events. Or if you just, like me, again, not tech savvy, you can dial 1-800-MY-VA-411, and they can give you the event locations as well.
That's fantastic. We need to get people out there. Why? Because we want you to survive. We want you to be around. We want you to help make this nation come back together. And basically, this is important. This is my mission and continuing the mission. And Michael, I know it is yours too. One of the things when I read your resume, which I was very impressed, you manage somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 billion worth of benefits. Did I understand that correctly? And over 1,000 people?
Yeah, I have a little bit. I have a little over 1,300 men and women that adjudicate claims for veterans, and over 70% of these individuals are veterans, just like the folks that tuned in here today. Have come up, and I tell this, they come and really are taking on the passion of serving others, and so they do this every single day. We service over 158,000 square miles here in Texas, and again, we're part of the big VA, so we service the nation. But just for Texas alone, over 158,000 square miles. I have approximately 24 out-based sites. We continue to grow to make sure that we're reaching our hard-hit areas out here in Texas. When you think about 1.6 million veterans, that's a lot of veterans.
That is a lot of veterans, but that also is a lot of people that are contributing a lot to this nation. And we want them to have the very best in healthcare and the very best in the benefits to be able to help them. Because again, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm one of those that said, oh, gee, I'm okay. I don't need anything. And then when I start hearing about the presumptive conditions, I go, gee, I've got that. Oh, gee, I've experienced that. Gee, I better do something because I want to be around to give my wife a really great life together, and which we do. So we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. This is Jim Blythe, Veterans Impact Show, talking about your benefits, talking about your health care, talking about what works for you. So we'll be right back. Thank you for being on board. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. I've got a great guy. I got a paratrooper. Did I hear you say 82nd Airborne? Oh, man, those guys really, they did a lot during World War II and Vietnam and the Gulf Wars as well.
Yes, they did. And I'll tell you honestly, one of the things I wanted to say, what really resonated with me when I was young and growing up, I come from a great line of veterans out there. And I wanted to follow the suit of my grandfather, who was in World War II. He was a paratrooper, one of the older paratroopers out there. But, just listening to him talk about the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and that he had out there, and the patriotism that he carried with him every single day. It really just encouraged me that I needed to follow in their footsteps. And again, I come from a long line of veterans out there, and I got lucky enough. Like I made a joke, I was 6 feet tall, and after jumping so many years, I'm about 5'9". But it was just the greatest mission. And if I could do it again, I'd do it again.
You know Major General Bob Scholes? He's on one of the TV networks as an advisor, and he came on. He was a paratrooper. He was in the 82nd, and he talks about it too. So it must be one of the most thrilling things in the world. Me, I'm a private pilot. You couldn't get me to jump out of a perfectly good airplane unless something was wrong. But it's a great experience. It's a great adventure. You want to have a great adventure in life and think about all the places you get to go and what you get to see and do and experience. And you met your wife. I believe you said she was a wave. Was that a Navy wave? She was in the Navy?
So she was in the Army, but she was right at the back end when they were transitioning over into conventional programs now. But she was at the back end of this in 1978, and the waves were transitioning at that point in time. So yes,
yeah. And I want to make a point that with his background and his passion, this is the kind of leadership that I have seen in the VA, whether it was Stephen Holt or Jeff Milligan or now Justin Cave. And I have talked with two of the directors of the VA. Amazing men, amazing leadership. There is a huge change. Many people have heard, oh, the VA is terrible. Oh, the VA is not good. Michael, you and I both have heard it. The VA has changed, especially over the last 7 to 10 years. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think, one of the bigger things out there, I think that this resonates strongly with me and every leader in VA is we had to open up the art of listening to our veterans out there. We have a huge population of veterans. The last 20 years, we put more veterans into the system out there that we get to see every single day. And I think, as leaders in VA, we become servant of leaders. And what I mean by that, and I think every leader is like this in the VA, but, we don't put ourselves first. We put the veteran first. We put our employees first. And I think, talk about, how we've transitioned over the last 10, 15 years. And I got to make this plug. I mean, I know everybody likes to talk about VA, and we're one big umbrella out there, but I think every leader in VA right now is using the art of listening out there. And again, we want to hear from veterans. I mean, as a veteran myself, I get frustrated, guys. I really do. And I work for the VA. I get frustrated because, again, our laws are cumbersome. We understand that. There's a lot of them out there. And as Jim was talking to you about today, there's so many benefits out there. It's hard to understand what all you're entitled to. But we as leaders in the VA, we are putting information out there to all veterans, to our employees who are going through rigorous training programs to make sure that they understand and be able to communicate with veterans. But I will tell you, for me, we're empowering those people. We're empowering you as a veteran to come in, talk to us. One of the other things, and I say this all the time, as a veteran, we are advocates for our fellow brothers and sisters. Okay? For you folks that have information, if you're listening today and you have information about benefits, share that information. The word of mouth is powerful. So please do that for me.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I hear is there's a lot of transition when you go from active duty military into the veteran world. And a lot of these guys go through some training, but what I'm finding in personal experience is they really don't know. So let's get into some areas that maybe, Michael, you're not as involved in, but are there. Education. Guys, I put myself through college with a VA benefits. That helped me enormously. I graduated from the University of Texas with a degree in finance. But I'll tell you something else, Michael. I was so motivated from having been in the Navy. I got my real estate license, then I got my broker's license before I graduated. The motivation that I got in the Navy drove me, plus all of the things I learned helped me. So talk about education. By the way, I got my instrument pilot license and a lot of the work for my commercial pilot training done. Thank you to VA. You paid 90% of it. That was amazing. Here's some of the other things I'm aware of because of what I do. Aid and attendance. You're familiar with that, Michael. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, and you can apply for aid and attendance, and I'm glad you brought this up because this is a question we get constantly about aid and attendance. Aid and attendance of itself is an enhanced benefit by VA. And what this benefit basically covers is individuals that are going through some significant change in their lives. Aid and attendance and the housing allowance, by the way, Jim, is part of that. Two benefits side by side. You have aid and attendance and you have housebound benefits. But what this allows you to do is receive a higher monthly pension. If you're filing for pension, it allows you to receive a higher monthly pension. And what it covers is basically if an individual needs the help to perform activities of daily living, such as bathing, feeding, dressing, going to the bathroom, adjusting prosthetic devices and such, we want you to apply. If you're bedridden, that means your disability requires you to stay in bed when you're not receiving treatment. You're a patient in a nursing home. You have visual problems. You have blindness, for example, in one eye, or you're blind, or you're housebound, for example. You have a permanent disability, 100% or more disabling. You have a single permanent disability evaluated 100%, and another disability evaluated at 60% or more. These all fall under aid and attendance. And for the pension piece, Jim, I believe that's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to look at pension, and it's a higher monthly entitlement. Now, let me just cover pension really quick so everybody's clear of this. Pension is an income-based program. It's not service-connected disabilities. We always want people to apply when they apply, to apply for both if they can, because what wasn't said on here is that your disability benefits are not taxed. So
right.
They are not taxed. We talk about the great things the states do out there, but pension is an income-based program. So it's not service connection, but when you apply for pension, we base it on the national poverty line, but it's based on a certain income. And if you make above that threshold, you're not entitled to pension. However, with aid and attendance, you apply for aid and attendance, you meet the threshold for aid and attendance. It basically allows you for a higher monthly pension amount, which is paid out to the pension or the veteran or the surviving spouse, but it also lifts that income threshold. So when folks apply for pension, they should also be considering aid and attendance, or in this case, housebound allowance.
Let me tell a story. Michael, a couple of years ago, I had a phone call from Richmond, Virginia, one of our stations that were carrying our program in Richmond. And this lady, I knew her because she was from Dallas. And she called me up and she said, Jim, I moved to Richmond to take care of my dad, who was World War II, and mom. And he's bedridden. He's all of these things. And she said, we've tried to get aid and attendance. We can't get it. We know about it, but it's just too much. I connected her with someone in the DAV through our James Henderson, our Dallas County Veteran Service Officer. And they were able within weeks to get aid and attendance, get some back pay as well, which was money to be able to pay for that home health care that they needed. That was huge for that family. And that was a World War II veteran. So we reach out across the nation and we say, hey, if you're listening to us and you got a question, I'm not the expert, but by golly, I know the guys who are, and Michael Crouse is one of them.
Yeah, and Jim, and it's not as hard as you think to file for that. We need it's one form filled out by the physician to talk about the disability pictures itself. Now we'll collect the evidence in that to do that, but they have to file for it. We will get our medical in here, and we make a decision. It's that simple. And I know, again, it sounds like it's more exhaustive in nature, but it requires one form signed by a doctor and a claim, and we can make the decision.
You can't ask for more than that.
No.
So we've talked about those things, aid and attendance. We've talked about education. We've talked about transition. What are some of the other things and benefits that you are aware of that maybe I've missed that we want to let people know? This is a motivation speech, guys. We're giving it to you to say, go sign up. It's important.
Yeah, let me go back to the education piece, because we had the post 9/11, we have the 9/11 program out there, which is a benefit that the men and women who are serving in the military receive for education through our higher learning institutions out there. But let me tell you a little bit about the best kept secret in VA, and I don't think we do. We try to put it out there, but for veterans out there to fully understand this program, and Jim, you may have used it, but it's called our VRE program, which is Veterans Readiness and Employment, which is our Chapter 31 programs. This program does so much for our veterans out there. And, we need to get folks to come in with their service connected. They're looking at changing, and their current disabilities will not allow them to do their current occupation or current job. Come talk to one of our veterans counselors about the Chapter 31 program. What this program does, it also allows service members to become occupationally corrected. In other words, we look at your occupation you're currently doing right now, and you can't do that because of disability. We set you with our counselors. They put you through a program through 5 different tracks to get you where you need to go. And those tracks are very, very self-explanatory. We have reemployment tracks where we help that individual get reemployed within the current locale. We have rapid employment services for new employment for veterans coming out of the military, trying to get a job for the first time. They work with our counselors. We also have self-employment assistance for those people that want to go into starting their own business. We look at employment through long-term services. And whether that means they go to a higher level of education is based on, what they're trying to do, but also, it gets them OJT programs. One of the biggest ones that we see out there, if a veteran is so disabled to where they can no longer work, this program also helps that veteran through independent living services. So we do so much through this program, and I want veterans to use the program because, again, I think it's the best kept secret in VA because we use the 9/11 programs and some of these other education platforms out there, but this program is there for every veteran.
And I think that's huge. Let's talk about a couple of other things. I worked and helped a friend of mine that had Heroes House here in Dallas, and he redid an apartment complex, and they used the VASH voucher system that's through HUD, and they were able to help homeless veterans get off the street. And I think that all that veteran had to do was come up with $50 a month, and they had a nice apartment. It was like a brand new apartment, the VASH voucher system. There's also, Michael, you were going to say something. Tell me what you were going to say. I interrupted you.
No, the HUD VASH, again, it's a great program out there. It's a collaborative program which pairs HUD housing choice vouchers, rental assistance with VA case management personnel. and other supportive services for our homeless veterans out there. It's a great program. These programs and these services, and you mentioned the HUD-VAG, are basically there to help homeless veterans and their families find and sustain permanent housing. So great program, Jim.
That is a great program. One of the other things that I found out about a number of years ago was you actually have some retirement villages, some retirement homes. I know there's one in Bonham. I know there's one up in Norman, Oklahoma. I know there's one in Fort Worth. I think there's one in Dallas. Tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of people don't know. They're thinking, oh, I get to that point, I don't have money. I was self-employed. I'm going to end up in a Medicaid facility. Not true. You could get into a VA facility, correct?
Yes, they can. They can get into the VA facility. And let me just make another plug here. The VA facilities, and again, we have many, many veterans starting to enter, and I call it the season years of our life, to get up there. And they do need, assistance of daily living and that. So these homes that you're talking about, there is a waiting list. So I would tell people, if you're thinking about going that way, we need to get our name in a waiting list. But just let me throw this out there too. We also have state nursing homes as well throughout the nation, which do similarly the same thing as our other programs out there. But I would highly encourage people to work with their states, Department of Veterans Affairs, to talk about state homes as well. Again, there is a waiting list for some of these homes out there. So if this is something that veterans are considering, they need to work with their state partners to get their name in a waiting list.
Michael, is there one down in El Paso? Do you know? I
I'm
don't
not,
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Jim, down here. I mean, not from the federal level, but there will
Well,
be.
I got to tell you, if there is, maybe 20 years from now, I'll get signed up, because I love Mexican food, and yeah, I'd rather be in El Paso than, at Bonham or some other. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Michael, this is so important. We're throwing out a plethora. We're throwing out a huge duffel bag full of VA benefits that people don't know about. And let's go back. How do you find out about it? How do you learn? Well, it's easy. It's not hard, right?
Yeah, and again, like I say, Jim, for those folks that are tech savvy out there that really, they get on the internet and they search out there, again, our va.gov webpage, they can actually, find out a lot about through va.gov, or they can search it on Google as far as VA benefits and that out there. They can come to our office, sit down with a counselor. They can go to one of their state or county service officers out there, sit down and talk with them. They can call a phone number out there and talk to one of our benefits advisors when it comes to benefits, 1-800-827-1000, or they can dial 1-800-MyVA411. We have people 24/7 ready to answer the calls.
Michael, I want to throw you a little bit of a curve here for a second, because you employ, as you said, 1,300 people. State of Texas is growing. We are now the #1 state in the nation for veterans population. If I wanted to go to the work for the VA, you're hiring. There are jobs available. Those are very, very good jobs. Dallas, for instance, the North Texas VA, they employ almost 6,000 people. They have a budget that's what, I think almost 2 billion, or is it big? I don't remember. Jason and everybody have told me, but I got to tell you, here's a great opportunity. If you're a veteran, you get preferential treatment if you want to serve other veterans. The VA is a great job. It's a great place.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for that. I really thank the advertisement there. But, we are hiring at a tremendous rate in VA. We really are. From October 1st, 2022, and this is when we really start pushing forward on the PACT Act, because we know we had to get ready for veterans. VBA's hired 4,246 veterans. To find out more about this, and we can talk about this in a second, Jim, but they can go to usajobs.com or gov. You can find out about those jobs.
Okay, that's usa.jobs.gov. Yeah. Is that correct? Okay, we just pulled it up. USA Jobs, we just pulled that up. When we come back, we're going to dive into that a little bit more, but we're going to bring this program back into the dock in a minute. And I got to tell you, this is a great conversation. It's all about you. Share it. Share this video. Share this information with other veterans. I'm going to send it out to some of my clients, Ashoni and Calvin. It's coming to you so it can help you as well in Lubbock, Texas. Join us, be a part of the team, be part of Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you. We'll be right back after these words. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show, and thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Well, excuse me, we're having a conversation. That may be a presumptive condition too, right? A little bit of allergies and a whole lot of throat clearing. Apologize for that. That's why I took a fisherman's friend. I got to tell you, what we're talking about will put health in your body and money in your pocket, and the benefits. And we have rolled off so many benefits most people don't have a vaguest idea about. And so that's where we're saying, go to your VA, find out. It's not rocket science. It's not as difficult. And if you went maybe 10 years, 15 years ago, this was a different VA. Michael, let's talk about one other thing that both Jason and Dr. Holt and I have learned all the way down the line. Our medical, which you handle benefits, not medical, but our medical services rank in the top of the nation. Our VA healthcare system, for instance, in Dallas, second largest in the nation. It is scored as high as any of the civilian hospitals. And if you say, well, gee, it takes so long to get an appointment in the VA, I got news for you. Try it in the civilian world. It ain't easy. So what we're saying is this is a new VA. And with leaders like Jason Cave and Michael Crouse and Dr. Holt and so many more that I have met, and our new secretary, absolutely fantastic people that are doing and that are so motivated and are so tuned in to be advocates for you. This is not your grandfather's VA, correct, Michael?
It's definitely not. Our research is cutting edge. Our healthcare facilities, as you alluded to, are receiving top scores, comparably higher than the civilian counterparts out there. The customer service is going above and beyond. We're hiring the right people, and I know this has come out from our secretary. As of June of 2023, just this past June, VA's welcomed over 44,000 new hires for the first 9 months of the year. We're looking to do more. And I mentioned this about VBA, which is the benefits side of the house, but we're all one family here in VA. We've hired over 4,000 new employees in VA. Most of them are veterans to serve veterans, and we're going to continue to hire. So, like I say, we are leading the industry when it comes to healthcare. We really are. And, I implore the veterans to actually use them.
The other thing you mentioned, and we're almost out of time, but I want to say this real quick. The research that you're doing, I know the VA in Dallas is partnered with Dr. Hastings, for instance, who is the chief medical officer, is also on the staff at UT Southwestern. I know Houston is tied in with MD Anderson. Major universities around the nation are tied in with the VA and doing research. In Waco, where you're located, Dr. Richard Symes is heading up the Center of Excellence. They're doing tremendous research in PTS and TBI and some of these other things, some of the equipment they've got. This is going on around the nation. What most people don't realize is about 70% of all medical professionals have some training in the VA in their career. That's huge because the VA is leading the way in this nation. That's important for you civilians to understand. This is not just a closed society. We basically reach out and they do everything. In part of what's going on, they put millions and millions of dollars into the local community in terms of healthcare.
Yes, they do, Jim. And I tell you, it's just a funny story. Every time, I have private doctors just like everybody else out there, but I always ask these doctors when I go see them, other than the VA, where did you get your studies at? And predominantly, and I think my number is a little bit higher, about 89% of the doctors that I use out there have actually started at the VA or did internships at the VA. So
absolutely.
The VA does great things even for our civilian doctors out there. They got their start at VA.
Absolutely. And it's important. That's a huge part of our community. And when COVID came up, I know some of the VA facilities opened up to COVID victims. I know there was a lot of that. I also know, and Jason was telling me what they did. They supplied, excuse me, medical supplies to fire departments. If you want to go back, listen to that interview I did with Jason Cave. That's going to tell you a whole lot about the quality of men and women who lead the VA. Well, Michael, we're coming down to the end of this, and I got to tell you, this has been a great conversation. We put everything up. Go to va.gov, start learning. In every VFW, American Legion that I know of in the state of Texas, there are veteran service officers that are accredited. It's free to help you get signed up. You need to get, if you're not signed up, you need to go ahead and get signed up. We need to get much, much, much greater. I'm signed up. I'm a part of the system. I'm going to get tested. This is important to you. So again, go to va.gov, get started, go to your local VA. And let me tell you one other quick thing. When you talk about communication, now they have telemedicine. And let me tell you something, that'll take care of you. Even if you live way out in the boonies, there is somebody there that can help you all the time. And the emergency number is 988 and dial 1 if you're a veteran. Correct, Michael?
That's correct, Jim. And
all right.
Hey,
go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to say something. I know we're running short in time, but I got to tell every veteran out there that may be listening and will get a chance to review this. Again, I highly encourage you to try to get your claim in before August 9th or get your intent to file. However, it does not mean you stop after August 9th. If you can't get the intent to file in, you can't get your claim in. Get to a regional office, get to a veteran service organization out there, or just get online and file that claim.
Well, if you don't know about it, you can still get in there. You may not get retroactive, but you can still get in there. I like to close with a prayer. So, Michael, if you join me, dear God in heaven, we thank you for our veterans and our active duty military. We thank you for being the rampart and the hedge of protection around those who run into the fire instead of away from the fire. And we thank you for our veterans, dear Lord, who are helping to bring this nation back together. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you in his holy name. Amen. Michael, thank you so much. I enjoyed meeting you, and I hope to get a chance to spend more time with you down in Waco and helping Waco to get the word out. So again, we're talking about the PACT Act. Go to va.gov. It's important for you to be a part. It's important for you to get your benefits. And if you're talking to your son or daughter, say, hey, look, here's what's available to you in the VA and benefits to pay for an education, pay for a life, and give you the adventure of a lifetime. Thank you so much for being on board. And Michael, thank you for being on board. We're going to send this out. We're going to share it. And I got to tell you, this was one of the most important programs I've done because it's out to help you guys. So this Veterans Impact Show, thank you for being on board. Thank you for being part of us. Good day.